The morning sunlight shimmered off Karen Mitchell's perfectly manicured lawn as she strutted across her porch, hugging a brown cardboard package against her chest like it was some kind of trophy. Her lips curved into that familiar satisfied smirk as she cast a glance toward my house, me, the new guy who'd moved in barely a week ago. Another victory for Willowbrook HOA's self-appointed queen. Another suspicious package wastenterst before it could endanger the sanctity of her beloved neighborhood. She disappeared into her colonial-style home, no doubt heading straight for her kitchen table, where she conducted all her most critical HOA operations. I could practically picture her sitting there, scissors in hand, eager to unveil whatever contraband she believed she'd rescued the community from this time. I imagined the moment the color drained from her face when she sliced through that tape. The way her hands must have trembled as she pulled out the crisp navy blue fabric, a police uniform, and beneath it, wrapped in protective plastic, an active duty badge with my full name and badge number clearly engraved. Detective Marcus Chen, badge number 4739, Metro Police Department. I'd been genuinely excited to start fresh at the new precinct after my transfer from downtown. Willowbrook looked perfect on paper, quiet streets, trim lawns, a place where my daughter could comfortably visit on weekends. Sure, the whole welcome packet was thicker than my entire lease agreement, but I figured that following a few rules about lawn height and mailbox paint wouldn't be too steep a price for a little piece. My uniform shipment was scheduled for delivery that Tuesday morning. The quartermaster had rushed the order since I was starting at the new precinct that Thursday. Everything I needed was inside that box: my dress uniform for the swearing-in ceremony, my daily patrol gear, and most importantly, my badge and credentials. I was in the garage unpacking boxes when my phone buzzed with the delivery notification. The package was delivered at 9:47 a.m. the front porch. Perfect timing. I'd grab it after I finished sorting out these tools. 20 minutes later, I stepped out onto my porch and found nothing. No box, no slip, no trace. My first thought was that maybe the driver had mixed up the houses. These suburban streets all looked the same: matching mailboxes, copy-paste driveways. I opened the delivery app and checked the photo proof. There it was, my package, sitting right on my welcome mat. Timestamp, 9:47 a.m., exactly as the notification said. Something felt wrong. 2 decades of police work had taught me to trust my instincts, and right now, every one of them was sounding an alarm. I looked across the street toward Karen's house. She was peeking through her blinds, but the moment our eyes might have met, the slat snapped shut. I'd met Karen exactly one time the day after I moved in. She'd shown up at my door with a fruit basket in one hand and a stack of HOA violation warnings in the other. Apparently, my moving truck had blocked the sidewalk for 15 minutes. My trash cans were visible from the street, and the previous owner's rose bushes were 2 inches above regulation height. "Welcome to Willowbrook," she'd said with a smile that never touched her eyes. "I'm Karen Mitchell, HOA president. We run a very tight ship here, and I'm sure you'll appreciate that, being new and all." "Where did you say you worked again?" I hadn't said. I thanked her for the fruit basket and promised to look over the HOA guidelines. Something about the way she lingered on my porch, craning her neck to peek inside, made me keep my career to myself. Now, standing on my empty porch with the delivery photo proving the package had been there, I opened my doorbell camera app. The video loaded slowly, but once it played, everything snapped into focus. 9:47 a.m. The delivery driver sets the box down and snaps the photo. 9:49 a.m. Karen Mitchell steps out of her house, glancing left and right like a suburban undercover agent. 9:50 a.m. She walks briskly across the street, scanning the area. 9:51 a.m. She bends down, grabs my package, and hustles back inside. I save the footage, taking a slow breath. 20 years in law enforcement had taught me patience. Confronting her directly would only give her time to toss the evidence or cook up some wild story about guarding Willowbrook from suspicious-looking packages. No, this needed a different approach. I called my sergeant at the new precinct. "Hey, Sarge, we might have a situation." My uniform shipment was stolen, including my badge and credentials. His tone shifted instantly. You're telling me someone has your active badge? Yes, sir. I have video proof of who took it. A neighbor. Don't approach them, he ordered. I'm calling internal affairs immediately. A stolen badge is a federal offense, especially if someone tries to use it. Where are you now? I gave him my address along with Karen's information. Within an hour, 2 detectives were at my front door. Not from my new precinct internal affairs. Detective Rodriguez and Detective Kim stepped inside, all business. Let's see the video, Rodriguez said. I played the footage on my laptop. They watched Karen's little porch heist 3 times, zooming in on her face, the package, the timestamps. This is serious, Kim said, jotting notes. If she opened federal mail containing law enforcement credentials, she's looking at multiple felonies. Has she contacted you since taking it? No direct contact, I said, but I've noticed her making rounds to neighbors' houses. She seems to be having some heated conversations. Rodriguez and Kim exchanged a knowing glance. We need to move fast before she tries to destroy the evidence, Rodriguez said. We're getting a warrant. In the meantime, act normal. Don't give her any reason to suspect you know. The next morning, I was out watering my lawn when Karen decided to make her move. She marched across the street with a clipboard tucked under her arm, chin tilted upward like a general inspecting her troops. Mr. Chin, she said, purposefully mispronouncing my name. I've received several complaints about suspicious activity at your residence, packages being delivered at odd hours, unfamiliar visitors. As HOA president, I need to know what kind of business you're running from this property. I kept my voice calm, steady, and even pleasant. Just settling in, Karen. Starting a new job soon. She scribbled something on her clipboard as if documenting a major infraction. Well, some of us care about maintaining property values. We can't have just anyone moving in and turning this neighborhood into, well, you know. I'll be keeping a very close eye on things. I appreciate your diligence, I replied. Continuing to water my roses, she huffed, spun on her heel, and strutted back to her house, no doubt ready to update her network of neighborhood lookouts about the mysterious new resident who refused to disclose his occupation. What Karen failed to notice, however, was the black Suburban parked halfway down the street for the past hour, or the unmarked sedan that cruised by like clockwork every 20 minutes. Internal Affairs had been quietly building their case, and, according to a text from Rodriguez, they'd uncovered that Karen had a history. This wasn't her first time. Several neighbors had reported missing packages over the past year, though no one had ever been able to prove anything. The next afternoon, I was sitting on my porch with a cup of coffee when the show finally began. The black Suburban rolled directly into Karen's driveway. 2 agents in suits stepped out, followed by 2 uniformed officers. They approached her front door with a sense of purpose that left no room for misunderstanding. Karen answered, wearing her usual ensemble pressed khakis and a perfectly tucked HOA polo. Even from across the street, I could see her posture shift, from imperious to confused to panicked. All within 10 seconds, Karen Mitchell, the lead agent, said loudly, his voice carrying through the quiet afternoon. I'm Agent Rodriguez with Internal Affairs. We have a warrant to search your premises for stolen federal property. This is ridiculous. Karen shrieked, her voice leaping an octave. I'm the HOA president. I was protecting the neighborhood from suspicious packages. Ma'am, Rodriguez replied. You removed mail from someone else's porch. That's federal mail theft. And the contents of that package, I was going to report it. She cut in. When I saw what was inside, I was going to call the police immediately. Before she could continue, Rodriguez's partner emerged from the house holding an evidence bag. Inside was my uniform and badge. Found them in the hall closet, he said. Sir, badge and credentials are all here. Rodriguez turned back to Karen. Karen Mitchell, you're under arrest for theft of government property, federal mail theft, and possession of stolen law enforcement credentials. He pulled out his handcuffs and began reading her rights. By now, half the neighborhood had stepped outside. People stood at the ends of their driveways, phones raised, recording as Karen was escorted toward the police car, her face shifting between blotchy red and chalky white. "This is entitlement," she shouted as they walked her to the cruiser. "He set me up. He's not even a real cop. Check his credentials. I was protecting all of you." Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down yelled back, "Oh, is that why my daughter's anniversary gift went missing last month? Were you protecting me from that too?" As the police car drove away with Karen in the back seat, more neighbors began sharing stories of their missing deliveries, the Johnsons' medication, the Lees' birthday presents for their son, all mysteriously vanished. All reported to Karen, all investigated, yet never found. 3 weeks later, I was grilling in my backyard when Mrs. Patterson appeared with a plate of cookies. "Heard the news about Karen?" she asked, setting the plate on the patio table. "Can't say I have," I replied, flipping a burger. Federal prosecutors charged her with everything: mail theft, identity theft for opening your credentials, possession of stolen government property. Her lawyer says she's looking at up to 5 years in federal prison and $250,000 in fines. I let out a low whistle. "That's serious." "Oh, that's not all," she said. "The HOA board held an emergency meeting last night, voted her out unanimously. First time in 15 years this neighborhood hasn't been run by Karen Mitchell." She even showed up to the meeting and tried to preside over her own removal. When they told her she couldn't participate, she actually fainted. "We had to call an ambulance. Paramedics said it was just shock, but still." Mrs. Patterson smiled, then headed back home, leaving me to my grilling. The neighborhood already felt transformed. Without Karen's constant surveillance, kids played in the street without being scolded about property values. People put up holiday decorations without checking the HOA rulebook first. 6 months later, the trial made local news. Karen Mitchell, former HOA president, was found guilty on all counts. The judge didn't buy a word of her neighborhood protection defense. She was sentenced to 5 years probation, $100,000 fine, and 300 hours of community service. The news cameras caught her expression as the verdict was read, eyes wide, mouth hanging open in a perfect O of disbelief. Her carefully styled hair wilted under the courtroom lights as reality finally sank in.